Greetings and welcome to our JSInTen tutorial series. I'm your host, Michael J. Griffin Jr., and today we're going to be building a basic Node Express to-do server. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, so here's our outline. We've got our basic setup. We're going to create routes, connect to a third-party API, and then we'll conclude by pushing our code up to GitHub. All right, so getting started, here are the technologies that we will use: Node, Express, Axios, and JSON placeholder. JSON placeholder will be used again in place of us building our own database. We will do that in a future video, but not for now. This is how we'll get our data. All right, so let's get right to it. All right, let's open up our terminal. We're going to initialize a new npm project. You can see that I'm already in a directory that I've created specifically for this purpose. So I'll just create that. It's just accepting all of the defaults. All right, when you use this --y option, you don't have to. You can name it anything you want, but I'm going to install these dependencies, Express and body parser. And then I'll create our server.js file. Touch is a Mac command that either creates a new file or updates the modified file of the file that you specify in the argument. All right, so let's open that file. We've got server.js. All right, we will split the window so that we can see both our markdown preview, and we're going to copy in this code here, and I'll explain what it's doing step by step. I created an IIFE, an immediately invoked functional expression, that's called as soon as this file is loaded. It requires Express and body parser, creates the app or creates the server using the Express function. It adds two pieces of two middleware functions from body parser, one to get the form data and the other to get JSON data that's passed up. And then it finds the port either for dev 4000, or if we're on a live server, it'll give us a port value inside of from the environment variable. So we'll use either one, and then we listen on that port. We set up the server to listen on that port, and we give a console log to let you know what let you know that the server has been set up successfully. So that's all that's doing. All right, so let's continue by walking through the markdown outline. So we're going to create a routes folder, and I'll just copy and paste this here, and then we're going to create a to-dos file inside of that routes folder, and we're going to set up let's open that file, to-dos, and then we're going to set up basic get, post, put, and delete routes inside of that. So I'm just going to copy this code and you'll see that we're calling Express again. We're requiring it, and then we set up a router by calling the router function from Express, and then on that router we attach or append methods and routes that we want to handle. Okay, so this will be the default route. This will be the default route with the parameter of ID. This will be the default route, but calling the post method. This will be the default route calling the put method, and this will be the default route calling the delete method with the ID parameter. Okay, right now we're just returning nothing. Okay, array base array, an object, empty object. But let's see if our server actually runs. All right, so we're going to type in node server.js, and we are listening. So what we'll try to do is we'll open up Postman here, and we'll try to get, all right, so I've set up a couple of routes here in Postman. We're going to try to get the to-dos, and we'll just hit send, and we see that we get, all right, so there's the problem. We haven't set up the routes in our server. So we've set up the routes, but our server doesn't know about them. And that's the fourth step, adding the routes to the server. All right, so we're going to request these routes. We're going to go back over to our server file, and we're going to request these routes here at the top, require them, a reference to them, and then we're going to set up middleware so that whenever API/v1/todos is hit, we use the router that we just set up. Okay, so now we're going to stop the server and start it again, and we should be able to come back to this to Postman, click send, and we get that empty array. Right, same thing for the to-dos. Whatever number we call, we're going to get an empty array back. If we post anything, we're going to get that. So all of our routes seem to be working. Well, let's make sure of that now. We've got API v1 to-dos, cannot put, okay. let's go over to our to-dos route. Yes, we need to give the ID here as well. And now, so we have to restart our server, sorry. And now we can send that and we get our, all right, so you got some live mess ups there, and we were able to figure them out. Okay, so and we still got 5 minutes left. All right, so even our delete route is working. So now all of our routes are working. And again, we'll update all of that inside of the markdown file that you download. All right, so now we need to connect to the third-party API to actually give the user some useful data. So we're going to install Axios. Oh, sorry, stop the server, and then we'll install Axios. And next we'll get a reference to Axios inside of our to-dos file. All right, oh, sorry, let me do this and bring that up. Okay, and then we'll create a constant because we don't want to keep calling the JSON placeholder route over and over and over, typing this everywhere. So we're just going to create a constant, call it to-do URL. All right, so now we need to update all of our routes. So for get all to-dos, right, this is that first route right here. We're just going to call out to JSON placeholder and say, hey, JSON placeholder, give me this data. And what we'll do is we'll just return that data, right? So let's see if that works. All right, we're calling the default to-do route with nothing special, just a GET request. Let's see if that works. All right, so we're going to do a GET to-dos. Oh, sorry, we need to start our server. Always got to start the server, right? Can't hit it if it's not running. Okay, and look, voila, we have to-dos. All right, I think there are 200 total that you get from the that you get from JSON placeholder. Okay, so we got all to-dos, and basically we're just calling out to that route, and then we return the JSON data that we got. And if there are any errors, obviously from it'll catch them and send back a 400 on our end. All right, so let's try to do the same thing with get to do by ID. Okay, so there's a little bit of difference in what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to do string interpolation. We call the to-do route with the parameter that we've gotten from the ID query parameter here. All right, so request.query.params, request.params.id is what we're going to call the get route with. And then we do the same thing here that we did there. We just return that data. Okay, so let's see if I want to get number 150. All right, and I click send. All right, so I didn't get anything. That's because my server didn't restart. Okay, and I need to click send, and I got ID 150, user 8, and that special Latin phrase we got right there, and then completed is false, right? All right, so we're working through this. We got 2 minutes left. Looks like we might get in under time. Okay, so let's try to do the same thing with add a new to do. We're going to copy this. All right, we're going to come back to our route, and basically what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, call the post route of that to-do URL with the body that we get from our call. So there's going to be a JSON body that we send up, and it's going to add a new one, and it'll return whatever data that this method returns. All right, so we'll try that here. Let's set up a body. All right, so we've got one set up, and I set this up here. You know, the title, user ID, and completed is false. Let's send it off. Hold on 1 second. We got to restart our server. And don't worry, we're going to, I know this gets annoying. We're going to talk about that in a future video. All right, so let's send it. And we get it back, ID 201, with all of the data that we sent up. All right, so let's try to update one. All right, so number 5, we're updating. Put with the ID here. And we're going to do the same thing, right? We're just going to copy this in. Okay. So what we're doing this time is we're updating a specific one. We're calling the put route with the ID that we got from our parameter here, and we are giving it the body that we got from that one. Okay, and then we're going to just return whatever JSON placeholder returns to us. All right, so let's try that. We got to restart our server because we did some updates. Okay, let's try it. We got a body here. Let's say I'm changing. We're going to, number 3 is number 4. Let's say number 4, and we're going to give it the title I'm changing. What's going to happen is it gives us the ID back. And, sorry, let's close that. ID back with the information that we changed. Okay. All right. Now let's try to get our delete route and see if we can get that one fixed. All right. So let's copy and paste that here. We'll actually get rid of that. All right, so we call the delete route axios.delete, and we call it with the parameter that we got from the ID parameter that we received from our call, and we return whatever we get. All right, so let's restart our server, and we'll go back and we'll say, okay, I want to delete number 6 or number 8. Let's try number 8. Start, and then we get back a status of 200, which means that we are able to successfully say that we've deleted that one, right? I believe a 201 means data has been changed, however, but they're sending back a 200. I think we're sending back a 200. Maybe we should send back a 201, or I think 201 is created. All right, so that is the entirety of our server, and it's running and doing what we need to do. So now let's take the last few minutes, the last minute or so, and push this code up to GitHub. All right, let's clear the console. We're going to initialize a Git project. We're going to create a git ignore file. We're going to add to our git ignore file. Let's do that. We're going to add node modules because we don't want to pass that up. All right, whenever we can get all, see, it went from 300 over here to 6 files. Okay, so we wanted to get that. We want to add all of the files that we've created, all of the files that we've created to staging. We want to stage those commits. We're going to do a git commit with the message of my first commit, and we're going to add the remote origin. I'm not going to type all of that, but I've already set this up. All right, so we'll call this git remote add origin REST API demo.get. All right, we've added that, and then we're going to push this to the master branch. All right, and you'll see it being pushed. And voila, we are done. That is the entirety of the first part of the tutorial. I hope you were able to follow along with that. If you have any questions, leave them down in the description below, and I hope to see you on the next part of this tutorial. All right, see you next time.